Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. The eagle-eyed amongst you will notice I've put a top on since last I did a video. I'd taken the dog out for a walk and it's bitterly cold out there. It's about -2 and my core temperature is right down. Even though I've got the heating on, I'm still not up to running temperature yet. It's a lot of energy. And speaking of energy, Scotland needs nukes. Nuclear power stations, that is. Nice segue, hey? Of course, it's got one at the moment. It's had several over the years. And it's still got one that will run until at least 2030. But there's no plans for any new ones. And it's strange. You see, they want this push for net zero. And nuclear power stations meet that in spades. They're absolutely net zero. You just have the reaction, turns water to steam, drives a turbine, steam condenses, back through, run again, and run ad infinitum. And it's not as though they're the likes of Chernobyl or Windscale or 3 Mile Island. Modern nukes are very, very safe, and they fail safe as well. But for some reason the SNP don't like them. I think it's a mixture of stupidity and ignorance and nothing else. But we'll take a look at this because people are saying that Scotland should endorse nuclear energy, take it to heart, and in fact that it's criminally negligent are the words used if they don't. Here goes. So here's the headline. SNP would be criminally negligent to block nuclear power investment in Scotland. Apart from the fact of it being net zero, it's reliable. All the big problem we have with renewable sources, wind, solar, tidal and that, is it's piecemeal. You can't predict it. And so you do need a backup. Now at the moment, the backup in Scotland is burning gas. But imagine if you didn't burn gas and you just had a couple of nuclear power stations pumping out what you needed regularly, 24 hours a day, humming along nicely. Perfectly safe, well away from any sort of built up areas. Nobody would even notice that they were there. Modern small plants are unobtrusive, reliable, and above all, massively safe. They also create jobs, high-tech, well-paid jobs. And that, of course, feeds into local economies. It's a good thing. And we're not talking here in the 1950s when, government ministers the likes of Tony Benn at the white, the white heat of technology and all that were saying it was good. We actually understand now what it is. It is totally good because of the benefits it brings. But for some reason, the hypocrites, 'cause that's all they are, in the SNP and Greens, say that nuke is bad. But nuke is good. The Scottish Government has been firm in its opposition to new nuclear plans being built in Scotland. But the UK Government Minister Andrew Bowie is turning up the heat, boom boom, forcing them to publicly denounce big investment in the country. The SNP would be verging on the criminally negligent, he said, if they chose to block vast nuclear investment in Scotland. The Nationalists are also going against public opinion in the country, with the majority of Scots now in favour of introducing more of this energy source if it helps on the road to net zero. The thing is, if you have a big, massive supply of basically free electricity, because once you've actually built the plant, it pays for itself over time, and after that, it's free because the radiation just keeps churning forever. Not literally forever, but for long enough, Anyway, plans have been proposed to develop nuclear reactors across England. They need to. About 36. That's what's going to be needed to run every house and car. Now, not your factories. Your factories will still have to run on good old-fashioned coal and oil and gas. But for the houses and cars in this country, 36 nuclear power stations will cover it. There you go. Although don't hold your breath, it's taken 30 years to build one. But anyway, the UK government has laid down the gauntlet and it's urging Nats to drop their opposition to new plants as it would be publicly denying new investment in the country. Scottish Tory MP Andrew Bowie is a minister for nuclear power and he is set to speak at Holyrood event. It was actually yesterday. It's just one of these things that for some reason the SNP are scared. And I'm going to suggest, it's a quick aside, but it's basically a very quick history lesson with regards to nuclear power. When we built nuclear power stations, back in the 50s, Calder Hall and whatever, we were doing so not because we wanted cheap nuclear energy. We weren't building nuclear power stations to give us cheap, electricity. We were building nuclear power stations because we wanted weapons grade uranium and plutonium. And so we were building fast breeder reactors. These are the ones that produce what is needed to sit atop your rockets and go boom. And that's why they were built. But they are dangerous types of, by necessity, they're rather dangerous designs because you need them to make the product that you're after. If you're simply building a nuclear power station purely to generate energy, they are incredibly safe. There's no dicking around trying to extract plutonium or whistling down your uranium 238 to get 235 or anything like that. You're just simply boiling water. It's just basically a nuclear kettle with a turbine at the end, and they are fail safe. They have to actually be powered up to run. If the power cuts, it cuts. It's so safe. And so modern designs, they literally are. And I think the problem with the SMP is they've looked at these old designs, which were designed like to make nuclear fissile materials, rather than just to create energy. The energy was a byproduct. It wasn't why they were built. But modern ones, it's the other way around. You can't. In fact, with modern ones, you can't even get weapons grade fissile material. It just doesn't work that way. So anyway, lesson over. Get back to the story. The Nuclear Industries Association is hosting the event at the Scottish Parliament, with it being designed to highlight the dividing line between the two governments on nuclear energy. Westminster is frustrated that there is a black line between Berwick and Carlisle, and beyond, none shall pass. Mr. Bowie said nuclear is on the cusp of a major revival. There are opportunities for the people and businesses of Scotland. To unlock nuclear full potential, we must have an industry that is competitive and works together as one across the whole of the United Kingdom. Now, here's the other thing. Imagine you have that line, the Berwick and Carlisle bypass, if you like, where above that, no nuke. No more nuke, right? Below it, nuke. So, England and Wales will have lots and lots of lovely free, well, not free, but cheap, reliable, regular energy, electricity. Scotland's going, oh, we're going to be all renewables, and that's fine. And then one day when the wind isn't blowing and the sun isn't shining, and you're going to go, ooh, we're going to have to fire up the gas-fired ones. All of a sudden, well, that's not very green, is it? And you're going to get the green campaigners demanding that they get closed. What about your oil one, your coal ones? Oh, well, we got rid of them. Okay, so what are you doing now? Well, we're freezing. The lights are off and we're cold. Now, you might have enough off your gas generators, but it won't be generating anywhere near enough power. And so what you're going to get is what's known as brownouts, where the energy is going across the country, but it's at a much lower rate. It's a much lower ampage. So you still get 240 volts out of your sockets, but the ampage will be right down. It leads to, soggy chips, put it that way. And you may have to have rolling blackouts. Who knows? I remember them from the 70s with the miners' strike. But, with that, though, it won't be any kind of industrial action. It'll just be the lack of generating power. You're supposed to be a modern 21st century Western democracy, and you're having rolling blackouts, brownouts, and insufficient generating power. That tells you the problems you've got when you keep voting these people into power. People will die. Imagine if you're in hospital and you need power, and all of a sudden the machines that keep people alive aren't receiving the full necessary amount of power. There's power going in. It's not as though there's a cut-off and so the generators come on. No. There's just insufficient power. So it hasn't tripped the generators. It's just everything is low. People will die. But that's what happens when you have the SNP in charge, and they don't understand the necessity for reliable power sources. Anyway, I shall round off and come up because it's pointless talking about it. They're too stupid to understand. They're too scared. They don't know what they're talking about. And they think they're being virtuous by saying no to nuke. Let them be virtuous. But how many people in Scotland would rather not be virtuous and rather would have regular electrical supply. Coming up. Now, for people who don't know, I mean, I can understand why they're scared. Like I said, I mentioned Calder Hall. Now, that was what, 1953, 54, something like that. But that was never designed as a power station. The fact that it did produce power was the selling point that the government said, oh, look at this. Now, remember they got, oh, I don't remember, I wasn't there, but I remember seeing video of the Queen going and sort of pushing a button. Oh, now call this open, hit the button, vroom, up it goes. So you don't, I think literally, it was the year of her coronation, perhaps? 53, I think it was 53. Anyway, young woman there, the young Queen, pushing the button. The button obviously wasn't actually connected to anything. There was a man sitting over there on a TV, watching the TV camera, and as soon as she hit the button, he hit something else. And then this big clock started turning around like that, showing all the electricity it was generating. It was not, it was just a motor, and it wasn't even connected. It was just for the cameras, you know, load of old rubbish. But it did generate electricity, and it got fed in to the national grid. But if you go and check out, that's not why Calder Hall existed. It was a Magnox station. It was a fast breeder Magnox that was there, basically, to produce weapons grade for the nuclear program, for, you know, nuclear weapons program. And then that was Calder Hall. And then next door was, oh God, what was the one next door? Come on, Sellafield. It was all up in Sellafield, but then you got the big one, which became Windscale, was next door. And both of them had accidents, but both of them neither of them were electricity generating plants. Both of them were producers of weapons grade material, and that's why they had accidents. And that is why I can understand some people have a fear, but there's really nothing to be fearful about with modern ones, because they are absolutely safe. I mean, nobody will ever base it, short of terrorism, short of flying a plane into one, and even then it will still only be a localised problem. Nothing will go wrong. And of course all these things are massively protected. Nobody flies anywhere near a nuclear power station, let me tell you. If you did, the RAF would shoot you out of the sky like that. After 9/11 and all, you know. Anyway, they do need to build them, they do need to have them, and it's the only way forward if you want to have a reliable form of electricity for all your lovely electrically powered homes and cars, because you can't run Scotland on wind and sun. Finishing there. Thank you very much for watching. Gone a bit longer than I intended, but never mind. You learnt something, I hope, and I think I may have earned a subscription. Maybe. I would like to get 8,000 by Christmas, and it's up to you good people if you think I'm worthy. So do please hit if you think I am. Anyway, till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.